Our next topic is going to be the New England Patriots. We are two huge Pats fans. We're from Massachusetts. We obviously love the Patriots. We're used to Super Bowls here in New England, and this year was far from it. The Pats are currently 6-9. They have one more game in the regular season. They're obviously not going to make the playoffs, and there's a lot of different factors as to why I think the Patriots didn't make the postseason this year as years past. You can obviously point to the quarterback position, but I think that's not the only reason. You know, I don't think this roster was built to make the postseason. And I also think, you know, most rosters are built around their quarterback. And when the Pats brought Cam Newton in during the late spring, the roster was kind of already set, and they didn't really have a roster built for him. And they kind of had to do things on the fly this year. And I think that's why you saw, especially on the offensive side, sort of a jumbled mess for the Patriots.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, first off, yeah, we're used to the Patriots making the playoffs. And, you know, this being our first show, we're covering some regional topics, but we're going to make sure we cover plenty of national ones.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you're tuning in. You're coming back weekly. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Give us a follow. Our Twitter handles are at the bottom of our names here. So give us a follow on Twitter. Send us a question if you want. But, yeah, I mean, I think the Patriots, the last time they didn't make the playoffs was 2011. The last time we had a losing season was in 2000. So as a Patriots fan and even as a football fan, this is something that's new for us. And I know it's not something that was fun to watch, to be honest. I made a joke the other day to my brother saying, hey, we're watching a bunch of practice players. But that's exactly what we're watching with this roster. And I think Bill Belichick made a comment earlier in the season about how he really didn't go out or wasn't able to go out and get players and spend the money to be able to get player acquisition to bring in a couple of studs to be able to play better or to play alongside Cam Newton. And I think the cap room reflects that, where we have $51 million in cap room, fourth largest in the league. So really, you know, the money was sitting at home, and now the Patriots are sitting at home when it comes to the playoffs. And yeah, there was just really nothing around Cam Newton that he could build on, no weapons. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making any mistakes any excuses for Cam Newton, because he made plenty of mistakes. I think even in this last game, there was a couple of passes where I seen him step up into the pocket and try to make a simple pass, and he threw it into the ground. And that's just simple mechanics with release point for a quarterback. And I mean, at this point, this late in the season, shouldn't be having simple mechanic issues. So I'd be shocked if you see Cam Newton in a Patriots uniform next year. And I'd be shocked, honestly, if you see the Patriots make the playoffs next year either. I don't really expect this to be a quick bounce back or a quick rebuild, Pat. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't expect Cam Newton to be back next year, except if he doesn't really have any other offers, you know, to play somewhere else for decent money. He might come back on a cheap deal, and then they might draft a player, and then they bring back Cam, who's now had a season with the Pats. Maybe he can have a full training camp this upcoming season. Things might be better for him. One of the biggest things that I thought Cam struggled with this year was just throwing to the backs in the flat and in the backfield. And that's one thing the Patriots have excelled at. And even those passes, he just wasn't accurate with those throws. And those are always your hot reads, your outlets, your easy throws you can make when things break down in front of you. And they definitely do not have down the field weapons. The tight end position, I have no idea what's going on there. I wish Asiasi played a lot more, but he hasn't really shown anything either. But they haven't really been able to take advantage of those short throws over the middle, and that's not really Cam's game. And I think one thing that we got to remember from last year is the Patriots acquired Mohamed Sanu with a second-round pick. They acquired Sanu to play with Brady. They didn't acquire Sanu to play with Cam Newton. So then when you came into this year, you have a first-round pick in N'Keal Harry, who still hasn't quite gotten there. Then you have Mohamed Sanu, who didn't even make the team because he wasn't really working with Cam. So you kind of left with nothing. You have a couple of rookie tight ends, and Damari Bird's probably the best receiver that Cam's worked well with this year. And then Julian Edelman gets hurt. So it kind of was like constant things just kind of happening to the Pats receiving core and different obstacles that they just couldn't overcome this season.
Yeah, I think you hit it there. I think, I think if someone were to use the quarterback position as the one excuse why the Patriots didn't make the playoffs and were to say, hey, it's because Tom Brady is playing in Tampa Bay right now, I'd say that they don't really know much about football, because there was just really nothing on that roster. Like you said, Damari Bird really being one of the highlights, and J.C. Jackson being one of the highlights on defense with 8 interceptions. But beyond that, I mean, we really didn't see much out of this team, and that's why they're not making the playoffs. And I think the quarterback play, hey, was a huge part of it. And, Cam Newton really didn't do himself any favors. I'd be shocked, like I said, for me personally, if I was in Bill Belichick's shoes or even Robert Kraft's shoes, I'd be looking to spend my money elsewhere or be looking to get more or to see more out of my draft picks, such as Jarrett Stidham.